Hi, word nerds. So this week our book is called Stacey's Extraordinary Words, and I actually used a sentence that has dialogue in it. It has a quotation in it. So I did that for a specific reason because as we're writing our personal narratives, we really need to start learning the rules as far as how to do that. And we see this all the time in books. Sometimes it's a little hard to learn how to do it ourselves. But other than just even the parts of speech and the normal things, we're also going to look at how to punctuate dialogue too. So, as far as the sentence, it says, "You only fail if you stop," her mother reminded her. If I look at the end of the quote, it has a comma at the end, which usually means that there's a tag after it, which is exactly what happens. This part that says, "her mother reminded her," is the tag. It's like the narration, and then there's a period at the end. So both the period and the comma kind of serve as just a regular statement. It's not showing a command. It's just showing the thought process on it. So this type of sentence is, once again, it's a declarative. That looks like a D, but it's actually CL. Declarative. Another declarative sentence. All right. Sentence structure, I'm already going to go ahead and tell you. It is a little unique because there's only going to be one subject and predicate in this section right here, but in the tag, there's kind of a subject and a predicate, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a compound sentence because it's dialogue. So we're just going to call this one a simple sentence. Because some of you thought I didn't tell you last time in the last video, but it was at the very end of it. So, all right. As far as, let's look inside the quote. It says, "You only fail if you stop." That's something the mom is saying. That's why it's inside quotation marks. So, when we are using quotation marks, we are going to mark them as green today. I'll say today because I can't promise you I'm going to do it every single time. So, we're going to have quotation marks before the sentence starts that somebody says out loud, and at the end of the sentence somebody says out loud. What also needs to happen is we need to capitalize the first letter of the sentence, which in this case is a Y in the word you. That needs to be a capital letter. Even if the tag comes first and this sentence comes second, it's still going to be capitalized. But before the other set of quotation marks, there needs to be some sort of punctuation. If this was a question or something somebody was yelling, like an exclamation, "You only fail if you stop!" and it has an exclamation point, we would put that right here, not at the end here. Because if it's just a regular declarative sentence, we're going to put a comma here. So we're going to highlight that in pink. We would never want to put the exclamation point or the question mark at the end of the tag, because what if I read this as, okay, let's pretend the sentence says, "What if I stop?" Her mother asked her. You only fail if you stop. Her mother asked her. If you had the question mark right here, that's what would make this sound like. Okay, what if it's, "You only fail if you stop," her mother reminded her, but the exclamation point was right here. It says, "You only fail if you stop," her mother reminded her. That's not how we speak in real life. The punctuation there should belong with the quote that somebody says. So we will always want it to reflect the end of it, but we don't want to put periods before the end of quotation marks. To be honest, I don't really know why that is specifically the rule. Probably has something to do with the fact that the end of the sentence in general is supposed to have a period regardless of the tag. So they don't want to have a period in both places. But if it's a question mark, that would still end up as a period. If it's an exclamation point, that would still end up as a period. But if it's like supposed to be period, period, it's actually going to be period, comma with the quote. All right. So that's pointing that out. And remember that this is called the quote, and this is called the tag. So the quote, what somebody says out loud, and this part, what somebody, how the details they add to who's saying it, is called the tag. All right, let's start looking at the parts of speech. So I'm going to look for nouns, okay? Found you only fail if you stop her mother. Ooh, mother. Mother is a noun. Reminded her. Okay, I didn't really see any other nouns in the sentence. There are other ones, but they're actually considered pronouns because it replaces the name of something for another word. So when the mother is saying you only fail if you stop, she's talking specifically to her daughter. So Stacey only fails if Stacey stops is what she would say if we didn't have pronouns. But instead these words you and you replace it. So we're going to call that a pronoun. And that one's also a pronoun. Interestingly enough, her and her are also pronouns because her mother, her is Stacey. Mother reminded her is also Stacey. So if we didn't have pronouns, this sentence would literally say, let me write down the word pronoun. This would say, Stacey only fails if Stacey stops. Stacey's mother reminded Stacey. Oh my word. How exhausting is that? So we're very fortunate for pronouns here. All right. So let's look for action in the sentence. Okay, you only fail. Ooh, failing is an action. Not a positive one, but it is one. So we're going to call that a verb. If you stop. Okay, stopping is also an action. We are making a choice to take the action of not doing anything. So stop is also a verb. Her mother reminded, okay? Reminding somebody something, it is an action that you're taking. So it's a verb and it has an ed on the end of it. So what does that mean? Is it past tense, present tense, or future tense? This one is actually a past tense verb. And we will talk way more about that later, I promise. Okay, past tense verb. All right, so we've got a couple of words left. We have only and if. Only and if. So the word only right here is describing the failure. You fail only. It's kind of like putting conditions on it. So it's describing the failure. So we're going to call this one an adverb. All right, and so we have the word if. You only fail if you stop. So if is actually a conjunction. Okay, I've started doubting that since I decided that it was a conjunction, and I forgot to look it up before I started my video. So one thing I want you guys to do, if you're listening and really active, I want you to find out using Google if is supposed to be a conjunction. That's what I'm thinking, because if I take this part, you only fail, stop, you stop, those could be on their own technically. Ooh, wait a second. And that does kind of actually mean that if is really a conjunction, like I think it is, because it's joining these two ideas, then that actually means that this it could be either a compound or complex. I've kind of messed up the sentence surgeon a little bit, but you know what? That's what it's all about with learning and thinking deeply. Thinking about parts of speech is not easy. It can be a little tricky sometimes. Some of them are easy, some of them are tough. And because some of the words change parts of speech based on even just what the sentence is saying, it can be really tricky. So I want the first person who comes up to me and looks it up and shows me on their Chromebook what part of speech if is, that first person will get some sort of reward. And what I'm going to do after I finish this video, I'm going to write the word conjunction on the board, and then I'm going to put a star if somebody achieves it. So if somebody does it first, I'm going to put a star next to the word conjunction on the whiteboard. And if you see that star, then somebody has already done it, so you don't have to come up to me. Okay? So if there's a star next to the word conjunction on the board, you don't have to come up to me because somebody already did it. All right, so let's think about the subject and the predicate. So, oh my gosh, like I seriously do think, the more I'm thinking about it, that this is actually a compound sentence. So I'm going to change this. So I'm actually going to say whoop, whoop, whoop. Because if I tell you otherwise, it's going to bother me for forever and the rest of my life. All right, so the subject is you fail, because fail is the action, which is the predicate. And who's doing the failing? You. Technically, you only fail, but we're not going to put that part. And then right here, it says you stop. Still thinking about this word if. Okay, I'm not going to think about it right now because one of you is going to tell me and it's going to be right. I know it. So something that you're also getting these notes to put into your ELA binder. Both of these need to go behind the section that says grammar notes. Both of these. So these are going to help you as you're trying to learn how to punctuate dialogue. Those of you that get to the editing stage for your personal narrative can use these things. You can even look at this page that I have, the way I have highlighted things and boxed them and underlined them and added things. You can add them to your own notes too if you'd like. So rule 1, put a comma before or after the word that tells you what the people are talking. Sorry. It should be a warning to people that are about to start talking, or they just did start talking. So like right here, that comma is like a, okay, somebody just talked, and it's telling us who did it. Sometimes that'll be in the front of the sentence too. Rule 2, put quotation marks before the first word that someone says and after the punctuation mark. And so that's where my colors come in. So the green is right here, my quotation marks. Pink is after, so before the first word, after the last word, but before the punctuation mark. All right, and then rule 3, capitalize the first word that somebody's saying, right here, her, or you. I don't know why I said her. Okay, you also have these notes right here that have some additions onto them. So if anybody decides to go through and highlight your punctuating dialogue notes with all of this info, I will be super, super, super impressed, and maybe have like a collection of names of the people that come up to me and show me that you did exactly all this stuff that's on here. And maybe I'll figure out something special for you guys. I'm not going to make any promises if it's an item or an experience, but I'll figure something out. I'll make a list of the people that were willing to do this and show it to me. And there's no stars on the board for this because this would be anyone who's willing to put all this effort into learning their punctuation. There's also punctuation in our Moby Max assignment this week. So we'll get plenty of experience with punctuating dialogue. So just remember, speech tag needs to be in the front sometime, or if it's in the front, that could be Sue asked, comma, do you want to go play soccer? Bob screamed, comma, that would be amazing. Sue said, comma, let's play at the park. So those are a little easier because comma comes first, then our I totally forgot what these are called, quotation marks. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, and then our capital letter. Make sure we have the appropriate punctuation at the end, and then the very end should have our quotation marks. The speech tag could be at the back, like in this example right here, because the tag is behind the quote. So that changes how that looks a little bit, and the examples are right here. Or the speech tag, every once in a while, can go in the middle. Somebody can talk, and then it says their name and how they're doing it, and then continues the sentence. That can happen as well. So enjoy, have fun doing this, and this is a long enough video, so I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Thanks, guys.